Welcome to the Story Machine 9000, a podcast where we create stories using the 48-hour film concept. Our films are comprised of four things: a genre, a prop, a line of dialogue, and a location. It's kind of like that casserole that you create in your college dorm of Oreos, macaroni, and Fritos.
But everyone thinks it's dope.
Right. I'm Joshua Lytle, a filmmaker and storyteller on this podcast.
Hi, I'm Justin Teal, and I make websites by day, and I dungeon master at night.
This is Dave Ailing. I am a voice talent guy, director, and part-time dungeon master.
I am Brian Monk Taylor. I am a tattoo artist by day and filmmaker every other part of the day.
Cool.
Sweet. Welcome, Brian.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
I think you may be our first official outsider guest.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. Cool. So without further ado, let's fire up the story machine and get our criteria.
As the guest, maybe, Brian, would you mind shaking the machine's hand vigorously to get it started? Okay.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, there it goes.
All right.
All right. Cool. All right. It's printing right now.
Okay, looks like the genre is a spoof.
Okay.
The prop looks like a paisley silk scarf.
Okay.
Let's get a line. Here it comes. How much money do you have in your wallet? And the location looks like Clock Tower.
Interesting. A spoof? A spoof
Yeah.
on what?
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, does that mean we can take an existing work and spoof it?
I would assume so.
Are we talking like, what is it, the like the Naked Gun series and stuff like that? Or that's kind of a farce.
A spoof is like a scary movie or something
Yeah.
like that, isn't
Oh,
it?
that's true. But it's based on the Scream lineage.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so spoof would be, pre-existing intellectual property.
This
or
makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
Well, they spoofed The Exorcist. You know, Leslie Nielsen spoofed The Exorcist with Repossessed.
Oh, yeah.
So that was a direct spoof of...
By the way, Brian has an encyclopedic knowledge of every movie.
It's just that I've been alive a long time.
Perfect. Okay. So is there something in the other three criteria that could inform what we're spoofing?
Well, automatically when you hear Clock Tower, I think of Saving Private Ryan or the movie from the what was it? The movie from Inglourious Bastards, where the German sniper was doing it. It was from a clock tower. Both those were from a clock tower, and it was a sniper movie. But maybe it would be funnier to have something spoofed that's not.
Did the Hunchback of Notre Dame those were just church bells? It wasn't associated with a clock, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, what about Back to the Future clock tower?
Oh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So scarf, I think like the professor wore something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
His lab coat.
And I like that too, because I don't know if did the clock tower and Saving Private Ryan serve a sort of critical role in the film?
It did.
Yeah.
There was the young sniper that was saving all his buddies from the clock tower.
Yeah. He ultimately gave his life because he saw the tank take aim, and he could, instead of running, he basically kept shooting until.
Yep.
Yeah. I feel like Back to the Future would be a little bit more fun.
Yeah.
A little less heavy.
Yeah.
Spoofing something already comedic, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could make it serious.
Make it serious. A dramatic piece based on Back to the Future. That could be interesting.
Kind
of a reverse spoof.
I was trying to think of something else with like a clock main thing, and like the only other thing I can think of really is like Cinderella. I don't think it's a clock tower. It's just you get that clock strike at midnight, and they're in. So it's just another thing that's out there to think about. But
I'm gravitating toward Back to the Future, and only because what was it? It was it last year? Or was it the year before? It was the sort of
2015.
Right. So that's the actual date that they travel to.
October 21st, 2015, I believe.
Right. And so that could be kind of fun because there's that sort of that thing that happens in movies where they try to project the future and none of that stuff really happens.
Oh, but they did guess the Cubs win in the series.
That's right.
It was a couple years late, but yeah, they got
Yeah,
it. And
they
then,
got that one.
and they had the self-tying shoes.
Yep.
That happened.
The hoverboard. Yeah,
Hoverboard.
somebody made sure that worked.
Yeah.
Of course, they're exploding all over the place now. That was a cool feature in that a lot of the stuff was already worn out. You know, that was already malfunctioning.
Yeah. Yeah, like they had it for a while.
Yeah. This is fruit, please, and the fruit drops down. He's like, and he has to smack it. You know, there's the picture on the screen that stuff happened too.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, who are our characters here?
Yeah, this is different because we're starting with kind of a template.
We are
So,
starting with a template, so
yeah.
it's like.
This is different for me.
All right. So if we take a cue from a scary movie, like the characters are based on those other characters,
Right.
but slightly different,
Yeah.
but
So-
not much.
So okay, so if we're looking at Back to the Future, you know, we've got Marty, we've got Doc, we've got
Maybe they're like the Malto meal versions of those characters. Oh man, we're getting into like total Rick and Morty territory.
yeah, kind of, sort of. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, then there was the character Jennifer who was seriously underplayed. Maybe we could, do something that she, like, what happened while she was on the porch, while.
Oh, kind of the is that like the parent kind of story?
Well, Jennifer was his girlfriend, and she was knocked out for most of the movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Not knowing much about Jennifer, I'm not really sure where to start.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any of the Back to the Future movies, but the first one.
Yeah. I think we'll focus on the first one.
Excellent.
Yeah, the first was the best.
Yes.
So is the spoof going to be basically they come 2015 and it's just not that much different, and like he's very upset and like disappointed that half the stuff hasn't
That
happened.
could be fun.
That would be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I like that.
That would be
idea.
good.
A crappier future.
Yeah. Right.
It's like an alternate, like present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but it's kind of a drag because they don't spend a whole lot of time in the future, and even still, that's the second film. I mean, really, they go back in time in the first one.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
and that's the premise. He's saying, I'm sending
That's
you
right.
back to the future, which is technically the present for him, but the future for Doc.
Yeah.
This is going to get so interesting so fast.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, unless we just pick a different part of the past. I mean, obviously not Old West because that's the third film, but
French Revolution. They're in line to get beheaded.
Oh, man.
And we start out with like we fade up from black and the credits are rolling and you just hear like people with pitchforks and torches just like screaming, and like you have the gallows and everything, and there's just a giant pile of heads, and they're like, and it just sort of the camera pans along the line up to the guillotine, and our heroes have two freshly placed nooses around their head, and we start as an idea.
man, because it even borders on what's that? Oh my gosh, Sherman and Mr. Peabody. You know,
Oh, yeah.
it's
Yeah.
sort of.
Yeah.
So I was at South by Southwest and I played a guillotine card game. So I guess that's where that comes from.
Yeah. Boy, this is tricky. This is trickier than I thought it
So
would be.
the main thing about those movies, right, is they're going to fix something. Is that right? So
Yeah.
so normally they start out like normal time, right, and then they go back to fix,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or to the future to fix something.
Right. Like the inciting moment is when Doc gets shot in the chest.
Yes. But, I mean, Marty doesn't go back in time to fix that. He goes back in time to escape the guys who are trying to murder him.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they're terrorists.
They're terrorists
Which are from,
out of nowhere.
was it Libya? I
Yeah.
forget where
Yeah.
they were supposed to be from. Libya?
Well, so the reason I brought up that is like I had this thought where that's how the movie starts, but you have I guess can we call them their character names?
It's got to be like generic, right? Like
Yeah.
Yeah, like just off brand. And it
Yeah.
can't be Rick and Morty,
it's like Mac and
Mac and
scientists. Like
Mac and scientist.
There could instead of Doc Brown, it could be Dr. Black. Instead of
Dr.
Marty, Melvin.
Marty Melvin.
Yeah. Melvin and Melvin and Dr. Black.
Melvin and Dr. Black.
Sure.
Okay, love it.
Yeah.
and he's like, Dr. Black, we're gonna die. And he's like, it's like, not today, kid. He like pulls out this magic device, and he's like, I was getting bored with this anyway. We're needed in the present. He's like, you had that the entire time? Literally the entire time? He's like, yeah. Zoop. And then they're like, somewhere else.
Oh, yes. Here we go.
Okay. And here we go.
He has an iPhone with a flux capacitor app on it.
There you go.
There you go. Okay. See, there's an app for everything.
Yep.
Kid. What is his name?
Melvin.
Melvin.
Yeah.
Man, we were going to write this down.
Okay.
Cool.
So we've already established that we have these sort of visually similar but legally distinct characters, and they have the ability to time travel.
Yep.
And so maybe it's not so much that they have it's a sort of a play-by-play spoof of the film, so much as we have these characters, and now
to do with whatever we want.
What do they get into?
Yeah.
So what's their time traveling device? So
it's an iPhone that has the flux capacitor app.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
It could be an Android.
well,
I know
no,
you favor that.
no. I was almost
No, they don't
wondering.
make it for the Android.
Okay.
No, pro Android. But I know I was kind of wanting it to be a funnier car of some type of like vehicle that would just,
A VW Bug?
A Tesla?
or is it
A Tesla?
like a little moped that like they have to like kickstart every time, or just
Totally redeemed yourself.
something ridiculous that
Yeah,
Or it could not be a car at all.
Yeah.
they got to double dude it 3 times.
Double duded on a hoverboard.
that's get on my shoulders, Melvin.
Yeah.
My son likes the Mini Comtesse car, which is like, it almost looks like a little clown car, which would be even
Mini
funnier.
Comtesse?
Yeah, Mini Comtesse, yeah.
They're like, quick, get in the car. And they have to like cram themselves in there and barely shut the door.
Two people aren't even to fit in it.
Yeah.
Or a
Okay.
golf cart.
Yeah, do we want to do a golf cart?
I kind of like
do a golf
time,
cart.
Time traveling golf cart.
I love it.
But it's still controlled somehow through the app. The app is, the app works in conjunction with the
It
golf
has to
cart.
connect to its Bluetooth
you gotta
speaker.
plug.
Yes.
You gotta like. There's a dock.
Yeah.
for
There's
it.
a dock?
Yeah.
Oh. Dock. Dock it. Dock
Okay.
it, Dock.
Oh, God.
So
Dock stock.
So we have these characters, and I think in the past what's worked out really, really well is we just sort of figure out what it is that they want, right? And so it's funny thinking back to the original film. Marty wanted something as superficial as a truck.
Yeah,
Trucks are cool.
Yeah.
Wait, you still have a truck, right?
I do.
Okay. Cool.
No, but
Yeah.
that was his.
Oh, that was his like end all be all?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, that's not all of life.
Yeah.
Well, that was the unforeseen kind of reward that he got at the end for doing the timeline the way he did. He came back and he had that new truck.
Yeah.
Something that was only a dream in the original timeline.
Oh. So that's like the false ending, real ending kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Now we have to have the clock tower in there, right?
Right.
Yep.
Clock tower, silk scarf. How much money do you have in your wallet?
Yeah.
Paisley, silk scarf.
Yeah.
Could the silk scarf be attached to a possible female interest in the story?
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. So, if let's say they just sort of floating it out there, if they've got to find somebody and the real only identifying quality of this person is this silk scarf, right?
Right.
And so they're traveling through time because this person also has the ability to travel through time. So it's sort of a manhunt situation.
Kind of a time tripping Carmen Sandiego
Yeah.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
That
That's
could be
exactly
cool.
what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. So who is this person that they're trying to find and why?
Cayman Santiago.
I'd say she's definitely doing damage to the timeline, and they're trying to fix it.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Like
So they're constantly like
yeah,
cleaning up messes.
she's jumping from place to place. Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go back here to 1910 and buy 10 shares of IBM stock, and then I'm gonna shoot up here and put it in a trust. And it's like, oh, she's really messing with stuff.
Maybe too, she's like working for someone, so someone's hired her to go back in time and like get things their way, and while she's at it, she's
Okay.
profiting. Like maybe it's not even her device. Maybe she's just working for them, and so her payment is you can do whatever you want to make yourself tons of money.
Okay, so she's sort of a hired gun sort
Yeah.
of thing. Okay. And
Or she will work for this person and she stole it.
oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. How nefarious
I
is
mean-
this person?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd say she's definitely likable, but you're like it's one of those those female characters like I really like this chick, but man, she is bad.
Yeah,
like a Darth Vader-esque.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So Melvin and Dr. Black. I'm still sort of searching for their motive.
Yeah.
So obviously she's changing the timeline. She's kind of fiddle fucking with the space time continuum.
Maybe if we pick up like where Dave said, where we start with the French Revolution and they've got the nooses around, she shows up and just quickly like saves them somehow, and they're like, who's that? Okay. And then that shoots them to wherever she's going next.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So is that the first time they've seen her, or is this like an ongoing thing? And this was her like, oh, you saved me that one time.
I think this is the first time they've seen her.
Yeah. So we kind of enter the movie mid-adventure, sort of like an Indiana Jones situation where he's kind of in the middle of something.
Yeah.
And then when it wraps, that's kind of the sort of segue or the sort of transition into the actual part of the story. So right, they're in the middle of the French Revolution or whatever, and they're about to be beheaded, and this person, does this person save them? Or,
she saves them. I'd say the reason she shows up there is she's stealing some precious works of art.
Okay.
And she's like, who are these clowns? And she recognizes them from her timeline, and she's like, yeah, well, I'll make this kind of distraction so they can get away, and then just kind of slip by. But then they're like, well, who was that?
Yeah.
She was dressed in like nowadays garb.
Yeah.
So she was totally out of place.
Yeah, I like the idea that maybe like, especially if they have the bags over their heads, like, so they get rescued. As they're taking them off, they just see that paisley silk scarf as she jumps through her portal or whatever she's in. That's the last thing they see is that scarf fluttering out.
Yep.
All right. And so I almost wonder if she saves them kind of indirectly or inadvertently, right? So she causes a distraction by sort of releasing all these people who are going to be beheaded, right?
Yes.
And that's sort of her out, and likewise they recognize her as being also a time traveler because she's not in the appropriate
she wouldn't
gear.
She wouldn't save them on purpose, but to make a distraction so she could escape because she got caught.
Right.
That's totally acceptable.
Yeah.
Right. And so in the commotion they return to their time and then they sort of regroup and they try to figure out who this person is.
Yeah, because once they come back to their time, we have something there where like those works of art are gone or the timeline's completely messed up and they're like, well, she had to cause this. So they want to jump back right before she showed up there so they can see who she is, and then they kind of like tag along to her.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So just so we don't lose sight of the spoof part, right? Because this actually sounds like a really cool idea. It sounds like a really cool movie, but what makes it sort of a spoof other than the fact that there are these characters, right? And so I guess when I think of a spoof, they're sort of hyperbolic. They're sort of exaggerations of the character that they're based on, right? And so, and again, we're getting into sort of Rick and Morty territory. I almost think of
do you want to talk about like what's different about them?
Yeah, I mean, what are their qualities, right? Because
I was gonna say, or just like what do they do that's so ridiculous that makes it a spoof or something?
Right.
So like to the point of, I'm just wondering if almost maybe the technology that takes them from future to the back is like, sometimes if you read into the Star Trek stuff, their teleportation technically is them like destroying their bodies and maybe even soul, and then they just recreate a new one. And so maybe in this spoof, like it's a painful experience to go from one place to another, and it's literally like killing yourself and making a new one in the future or past.
Can I build on that?
Yeah.
Okay, since this is a spoof and almost anything can happen, every time, like, we establish who these characters are, right? But then every time they teleport, they're recast as different actors. Like, with different actors, like, still playing the same role, picking it up exactly where they left off.
Like Doctor Who?
Like Doctor Who.
Yeah. Yeah, so they have, like, the same clothes and stuff, so
yeah,
it's them, but it's always...
They're changing, like, race, age, gender, like, all sorts of stuff.
Do they acknowledge it?
No, they don't even acknowledge it. Okay. That's where the audience is in on it.
Yeah.
Now, it'd be cool, too, if you slid up the timeline, if we're talking about spoofing, slide up the timeline to where, what if Doc Black and Melvin, were today. If he's from 2017 and he goes back to, say, 1987, and he's like, well, if you're so smart, who's the president in 2017? He's like, Donald Trump. Oh, really? Who's the vice president? Rudy Giuliani in drag? He's like, what are you talking about? That's ridiculous. Because there was that line in the movie where he said, well, who's president? He's like, well, Ronald Reagan. The actor?
Mike Pence, never heard of him.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just making up words. Yeah.
You have to pull some of that original stuff from the movie in there to kind of spoof it and play it up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So maybe this thing is like, how do we attack kind of some critical scenes differently?
Yeah. That's where, like, I was going with, like, the car. Like, oh, instead of a car, is it, like, some, like, well, now we're with the golf cart. Like, it's some weird, silly kind of vehicle that they've, attached rockets or something to make it look ridiculous. It's even got those, like, stupid, like, the gauges that are, like, over the top.
What was the speed they had to hit?
88 miles an hour.
88 miles an hour.
We could half it at 44.
We could have it at 44.
Yeah, we're like, okay, so how do you get a golf cart going 44? Well, you put a blower in it.
Yeah. It's impossible. I do impossible every day, Melvin.
And he's like, because in the original movie, he's like, you made a time machine out of a DeLorean? Say, you put a blower in a golf cart?
What's a blower?
It's a instrument that sits on top of a manifold of an engine that it can push like alcohol through it or nitrous.
Oh,
it's one of those things that makes the engine stick way up out of there, and it just
Gotcha.
increases the horsepower tenfold.
Nice. I learned something today.
Yeah, and so so the clock tower, I mean, we kind of need it anyway. Like, is there a way to make that ridiculous?
I feel like we're jumping around a little bit, and I'm kind of losing where it is we're focusing.
So I guess we were going on this, like, what are the spoofs that are going to be happening?
Okay.
Was what I was
going
going
identify the pieces and then put it all together.
Sure. Yeah, that's kind of I think what we were doing. But so with the clock tower, like, that's probably going to be like the important, or that could have just been where we were at the beginning with the French Revolution.
There could have been a clock tower at there, and it got struck by lightning or something, and that's maybe the moment she appeared.
Mm-hmm. So that's, they use that to go track her down later.
Yeah. There has to be a clock tower somewhere in France.
Yeah. Or in London. Oh, wait, France.
Yeah.
Yeah, France.
You're the one that said French Revolution.
I did. It's at the Bastille. Of course, everyone knows the famous clock tower at the Bastille, right?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Is there a ridiculous love story that happens? Like,
well, I'm just trying to, like, think about what's motivating them to go after this person. Is it just the fact that time's being messed with and they want to write it?
yeah, like she was kind of destroying it in a way. Like she messed it up, I guess was the gist of it.
Okay.
'Cause she's going back, and I don't know if I think she's working by herself. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay, and so she went back to steal artwork, and then she, really by accident released these guys, and so then they went back to the future,
right,
to figure out who she was and like probably get the art back. Is that like the main thing we're going with?
But like maybe there's something that both the characters like or want that has been messed with, so they're motivated to go track her down. It's not just like she's messing stuff up. It's like something personal happens to them that makes them go, this aggression will not stand, man.
Well, in the original, when they went back to the future, it was all messed up, and Biff had put, gambling in their town or whatever. We could pick a bigger town like Vegas, and then they go back, and Vegas was never made, and that's their town.
And Reno's just huge, or Atlantic City's just.
Or she's done something where there's no gambling allowed in Nevada, and they're like, whoa, wait, what's the matter?
Yeah, she's bankrupted America.
Yeah, and in Back to the Future, they're both he was sort of all American. We could make him over the top the other way.
Over the top? Wait, like communist?
No, just like.
No, like he's a professional poker player or something, and Vegas is his town instead of like Hill Valley or whatever it was.
There you go. Okay. Professional poker player, Melvin McRoach.
McDrive instead of McFly.
Melvin McDrive.
Sure. Yeah.
Hey guys, I think we've actually come to a good point in taking a break. So now, with a word from our sponsors. Hey Brian.
Yes, Dave.
Do you enjoy coffee?
I love coffee.
Would you say you give a damn about coffee?
I give 2 damns.
Really? So you just don't settle for major store-bought coffee. It's flavorless and it's just this just cup of sadness that you wake up to every morning?
Absolutely not. I am a coffee snob.
Oh, so my friend, you would love Abracadabra coffee. Abracadabra coffee is made from the hills of southern Vermont. It tastes like a cup of fantasy.
Sweet.
Oh, it's sweet, bitter, sometimes blueberry, notes of chocolate. It's all over the board. It's single origin coffee, roasted locally and shipped directly to you. Visit them at abracadabracoffee.com or follow their Instagram feed. It's very fun.
I will. Thank you.
No, Brian. Thank you. And drink some Abracadabra coffee.
I will.
I know I will too.
All right, and we're back. Cool. All right. So have we given this the antagonist a name yet? No. Would it be sort of the Biff equivalent, or would it be this would be an area where we just introduce a new character?
I think we just introduce a new character here.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what to call her?
Yeah.
Well, it was based off of, you were saying like what Jane was, or who was knocked out. Like that's kind of where this
Jennifer
was like knocked out.
Uh-huh.
It could be something. I don't know. It could be something like maybe she's like, because Jennifer was like his girlfriend in the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is like, maybe he broke up with her or something like that, and she just like, we find out later that she stole a piece of, Doc Black's technology and just was just like, well, whatever. And she's just like going on a tirade just to make her own life better because her life sucked because he broke up with her.
Well, maybe her idea was to get rich off this thing, and they're like, no, that's unethical. Mm-hmm. I'll just play poker.
Oh,
and he's like, and she's like, well, I'm going to take it and do what I want with it.
I'm going to make my own money my own way.
I'm going to be independent.
Yep.
So we do. So we're establishing that they do know who it is, or maybe not at first.
Maybe not at first.
Okay.
But there becomes a time where they see her later, like halfway through. I don't know.
Well, you guys also described that the people would change every time they jumped. Are we going to keep that?
Yeah. So it's like,
and maybe that's
recasted.
maybe that's the first time that this happens, and they don't like, who is that? And then
something's happening with our bodies. Science. It seems that every time we jump, we're.
I like how you say that. Science.
We're just a little different, insert science here.
Well, yeah, and the whole thing, like when you dream, and it's like, oh, I had a dream. It was my house, but it wasn't really my house. It was just a little different. Everything was a little different. You could make it just slightly different. Like Marty's eyes are blue, or Melvin's eyes are blue one and green the other, or he has a different haircut, or what have you.
It starts out with small changes that exponentially just get bigger and bigger as the movie goes.
They're like.
So I picture if you were to, so initially you cast Michael Cera, and then they jump a few times, and then he slowly becomes Jesse Eisenberg.
And then Jonah Hill. Yeah. By the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, so every time you go, like your genes are just getting messed with just that little bit.
That little bit.
Yeah. They just keep
compounds.
mutating.
Yeah, just compounds until.
So, and I apologize. I missed a little bit of the conversation.
It's hard to jump back in.
But So, just to recap a little bit, so they travel to, so they leave the French they leave the French Revolution, and they return to their own time, just after being kind of quasi saved by this mysterious person, right? And then when they return, they find out that the world as they know it is kind of turned upside down. Whether it sounds like it's Vegas isn't Vegas anymore, and that's a problem because Melvin McDrive is a poker player, a professional poker player.
Now the Mormons are in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
No gambling.
Yeah.
Yes, Salt Lake has expanded.
It's spread.
Yeah.
And so then, do we want to further define his relationship with Dr. Black, or do we just kind of, as the audience, we like it's a spoof? We're gonna take some stuff for granted here.
maybe it's like their relationship is like you can take that like Blackjack has a certain number counting system to it, so he uses Doc Black as to become the world's greatest gambler in Vegas or something like that. Like he's
his
the
Rain Man.
Yeah,
He's his Rain Man.
He's his Rain Man.
Okay. Okay, and so is it a situation where Dr. Black he's wicked smart, but at the same time he's just kind of 9 times out of 10 he just does really dopey stuff, but it's all for a reason or something like that. Again, just on the topic of these characters being sort of hyperbolic or sort of exaggerations of their characters, I think of Scary Movie and how just everyone's just a complete idiot. I mean, and that's sort of amplified by the fact that the kids, the teens in the original movies, they just made bad choices.
Well, that, and they're just like very over exaggerated, right? And so like I imagine like his shop is like, because even in the movie his shop's like a mess, but it's like so much a mess you have to wade through his like shop to get
like
anywhere. It's just
hoarder.
Yeah, it's just all over, and there's duct tape, of course, is on everything, and it's like the Doc shop just times 10. It's just awful looking.
Every box you pick up, you have to blow dust off of. Every
Yeah, and so I like the idea that he's maybe sort of like his Rain Man, and so he's maybe it has less to do with intelligence and just that sort of neurotic sort of I don't know, it's sort of habits or something.
Yeah, habitual
right?
energy of some sort.
Yeah. So he's
You could also make him an insomniac, so he never sleeps.
He just never sleeps.
Yeah, he's just wild. He's just out of control.
Or at some points he'll just pass out.
Narcoleptic, a little bit.
Well, there was a scene in the third one where he's like he passed out from doing one shot.
Oh, geez. I wouldn't know. I haven't seen it.
Oh,
or
dang,
maybe
Dave.
or maybe he's maybe he's just got maybe he's like manic depressive. So on the one hand, when he's manic, he's just really, really, really busy. But then there are these really, really inopportune times when he becomes depressed.
I like that.
And Melvin can't get him to do anything. And it just 9 times out of 10 it happens when he really needs him to be smart and help.
Why would I
get
do
them
it?
out of it.
Melvin, life's meaningless.
Well, there you go. It's like you've got the beginning and the end. It's at the beginning they're on the gallows, the clock tower, the lightning strikes. She shows up. Then for the whole movie they chase her around. Then he's like, well, what if we just went back like 5 minutes before she showed up and then grab her and bring her back here? No, none of this was supposed to happen. Oh, well,
Perfect.
That could be the resolution to the whole thing. But he didn't. He had to go through this whole thing to think about it. He's like, Doc, why didn't you think about that in the first place?
They break the fourth wall. It's like, we should have done that from the very beginning.
I like it too because it actually shares a lot of qualities of the second film too. Because essentially they're going to be going back to where they had just traveled backwards, and so there's that whole thing where we can't interact with ourselves. So we have to be very, very careful that we don't recreate our steps, or we don't run into each other or something like that.
Yeah, they see themselves at the gallows. Don't save us. We're not here for that. Remember.
But
so if they stop her, did the other version of them die in the gallows?
See that? There you go. There's the paradox.
shoot.
So they have to, maybe they have to do both somehow. Like,
Well,
Did
maybe
they avoid paradoxes in the movies, or did they acknowledge any of them?
Well, the paradox was him like trying to save himself. Remember, he was disappearing from the picture.
That's right.
He's like, oh crap, I interfered with this, and now I won't be existing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
yep.
Which could be another thing, if you want it to go that way, is like they go back and they stop her, but they're still at the gallows, so then they die. It's like so by writing the timeline, you've killed us.
Huh. Yeah, because she's the main interrupter.
Uh-huh.
Be like, and we did it. High five, dead.
And then they just like cease to exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Actually, that's
funny.
kind of the best spoof, is like to let that paradox just play through and not fix it.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
just be doomed by it. It's kind of funny.
And it's
I like
like
a good dark ending.
You didn't think of this. How could you not think of that? Yeah. But then they kind of like show up in some sort of like big white room, and they're like, "Oh crap," and that's it.
Yeah. And it's
Well,
just,
don't you have your transmogrifier thing? Well, I never invented it, or something. I don't know. I don't know if it's that crazy.
I get no signal here in the alternate universe.
I like that because, yeah. So the entire time the audience, you're with them 110%. Oh yeah, go. You have to stop the bad guy, but it's not until those final moments when everyone realizes, oh, if they stop her, yeah, they die, because we saw that happen.
Mm-hmm. Do we? I mean, only so we can have a sequel. Do they? So they stop her and they go, "Oh my God, we're gonna die!" And then is that where the moment where the ones at the gallows go? The doctor goes, "Oh, I do have this new invention," and like it is like maybe an iPhone at that point, and it does transport.
I call it a sequel.
Yeah, yeah, it's the sequel. But yeah, he like pulls something out of his jacket, and he like forgot about it the entire time.
Oh yeah,
which would have stopped half of this in the beginning. So it's just like
he presses it, and then we get another lightning flash, and we hit credits.
Yeah.
Oh boy, this is really this feels really obvious, or not obvious, but just maybe played out a little bit. But so they wind up in that sort of that sort of purgatory, right? But then they're rescued by themselves in another point in the timeline, right? so that's how we get into the sequel, and it's I don't know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
They look like
and because they mutate
recast.
They mutate every so many jumps.
It's just
they look like totally different people.
like totally different people. Like, who are you? We're you.
Yeah.
It's like a 200th try. It's like a 212th try. Like it's just it's just like they're so many. Like it took you that many. Like they're yelling at themselves now.
I like it.
Yeah.
What else do we need to do?
Yeah, I know. This is so weird. I mean, normally
this is the quickest we've ever gotten here.
And it feels weird. I mean, so let's I hate to do it, but let's recap a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? And so
hammer out some of the
because
details.
I feel like we've got sort of something that resembles a beginning, a middle, and end, but then maybe what makes it just to really sort of dial in that the spoof qualities of it, right? What are some of the gags? Maybe this sort of devolves into just a giant gag session where we just sort of talk about.
Well, one of the gags you could put is like, at the end, Doc was wearing a bulletproof vest. Have him show up in the alternate universe. But I had this bulletproof vest on. Oh, fat lot of good that did you. We still ended up in oblivion.
Doesn't stop you from getting beheaded.
You never mentioned that to me.
I like that. Yeah. It's not going to help you. Yeah.
When they put a noose around your neck. Yes.
Yeah. Well, so to go back, maybe so it would help. Like, you have the gong ring, you have the clock tower. Mm-hmm. They're at the gallows. They get saved and see the scarf. So then they go back to their future. Mm-hmm. They're trying to track her down. And I don't know, maybe even just to speed things up is like, there's almost like a, what is it? When you see a bunch of stuff.
Montage?
A montage of them like looking at a map and seeing stuff being like, looking at the news, people, stuff being stolen or missing. Mm-hmm. And they just go back to different parts of time and you just get quick hits of that. And maybe it's just, super humorous.
Oh yeah, that could be a good way to do it. So we could come up with a couple situations.
Yeah,
the
historical
montage
landmark.
Yeah, or
a historical. I don't know.
Yeah, it's almost like the Carmen Sandiego thing, where like she's always like, "Oh, she stole the Eiffel Tower," and like she did like the most ridiculous stuff that you could do, and maybe that's like what she's doing back in the past.
Yeah.
And so they're going back and fixing it, but the one thing they can't fix is that the French one.
Right.
Until the end, we're like, oh, we just go 5 minutes before.
Or she could be narcissistic in that, like, she goes back to Da Vinci, and instead of painting the Mona Lisa, it's her. So they end up in the Louvre, and they see her, like, oh my God.
It almost becomes like pointed, like she's just trying to torture him a little bit.
Yeah.
So she's leaving all these different sort of clues and stuff about where she. So they get so far, and then they find another clue, and then they jump back to a different time, and then
and then that could maybe be a reason why he broke up with her, is just because she's so like vain, like, and so like she does things like have Mona Lisa look,
or she thinks it's funny.
Or
this would be funny.
Yeah.
Just for the record too, we've used the Paley silk scarf as like her kind of calling card, but we don't have the line. How much money do you have in your wallet?
I had a thought for that.
Okay.
Like, they're like chasing after her in like some sort of car chase through like European tight streets, and they get to a point where they almost get her, but they can't figure out a place to park the car. Like they have to do this like awkward parallel parking thing, and they're just about to go, and and like they're stopped by like a traffic cop who's like the meter, and he's like, "Oh, how much money do you have in your wallet?" I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's.
And then like the traffic cop like is the thing that prevents them from actually getting her or something.
Yeah, and it feels like a spoof because like normally you wouldn't stop to.
You wouldn't stop to do that.
So, something else that could be really interesting is playing off the fact that Melvin is a professional, I guess a professional gambler, right? And so he's everywhere he goes. That's a sort of his character flaw, right? He's always being sort of tempted to gamble in some way, and so he's always hitting Dr. Black up for how much money have you got in your wallet?
Nice.
And
because that's in the original movie, his sort of Achilles heel was, "What are you, chicken?"
Yeah.
And that was always the thing that set him off and on the wrong path.
Yeah.
Right.
You know.
I like the gambling addiction kind of
Yeah.
angle.
Yeah, he's like
spade to spade.
Well, he shows up. He's like, "Oh my God, they're having a poker tournament. How much money do you have in your wallet?" He asks Doc all the time, "How much money do you have in your wallet?" Like every time.
Right.
He's like, this gambling addiction is going to undo you.
That could be a point of contention between the two characters too, because it's like they need each other to go through this thing, but they're just so self-sabotaging. You know, like he enables him to gamble with his like giving over the money, and then they spend like 4 hours at the casino getting a bunch of money. Meanwhile, the casino could be like dissolving around them. You know, they're like, wait, did it again.
The other thing that's really kind of fun about that is that they almost become foils of one another, because on the one hand you've got Melvin, who's he's a gambler, and so he enjoys risk, where in contrast, you have Dr. Black, who he looks at that as being, oh my God, why do you? It's like buying lottery tickets. Why do you waste your money? This is ridiculous. There's so much better. There are better ways to make money, and surefire ways to make money. I was just kind of throwing that out there as sort of an interesting dynamic between the two of them.
I was thinking about how we talked about how the doctor would get sad. I didn't know if there's some way that Melvin then, like I was just thinking, does he have treats that he feeds the doctor, and that's what like makes him happy again and like gets him back up? Or is it like, if we're going with the sleepy thing, does he have some type of like caffeine, and so when they really need him, like he doesn't have it, or like that's just something they have to get every once in a while. It's like more caffeine, or they're always stopping at coffee shops or
Red Bull.
Red Bull.
Give him Red Bull. It's like Red Bull brings him down.
It's a spoof. He can be absolutely sponsored by something.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. I'm feeling really down. Like sometimes 3 o'clock hits, and I mean anywhere in time, 3 o'clock's still gonna hit. And I hit this dragging point of the day. Well, look no further than a cold, delicious Red Bull.
Although I really want to go with 5-hour energy shots now.
Shots, yeah.
The way you're describing, I just imagine he's just like a whole like coat lined with them.
But that's funny, because then eventually at some point in time they run out, and they have to find a sort of substitute for it, right? Just like when they go back in time in the film, they have to find a surrogate for the flux capacitor, which happens to be the clock tower. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it necessarily has to be that direct of if it has to, if it has to relate that closely, but so I'm picturing what would be a funny era for them to land in, and there's no 5-hour energy here. That doesn't exist. You need. It's like the 80s. Like, the next best thing is cocaine.
Because I like the idea he needs the caffeine, but he hates coffee, and so that way it's always kind of hard for him to find. Otherwise, you could just get coffee. But I like the idea that it's harder for him to drink something else. It just needs to be that 5-hour energy.
Yeah. He goes back to like a cafe in the 90s. It's like a poet. They're like in the middle of a poetry slam in a coffee house in the 90s. And he's like,
come on, let's hurry up. I just want to get out of here.
One cappuccino, please. I don't know. That was lame.
Okay. Yeah, this is interesting.
So do you want to attempt to recap? Or do you want to keep on this train of?
Yeah, we can attempt to recap. Maybe that'll help us sort of identify any gaps or anything that we may have overlooked. So we've got Melvin and Dr. Black, who in the beginning of the film, they're in the French Revolution and they're just about to be beheaded, until they're inadvertently rescued by this other time traveler who who simply wants to create a distraction, and so she helps unintentionally save them, and then in the chaos they return to their own time and find out that this person that they encountered has altered their time, their reality as they know it. Specifically, Las Vegas is no longer there, and we know that to be a problem because Melvin is a compulsive and professional gambler.
Yes, both.
Yeah, and
that's where like
yeah.
I was saying like maybe they see it, I don't know if in news or somehow they just keep digging and they find all the stuff that she's changed over time
it's
to
like
track her down.
news headlines. It's like new exhibition for the Mona. Wait, what's her name? Did we actually give her name?
We didn't give her a name.
Oh,
Lisa.
We could call her Laura.
yeah,
Mona Laura.
Mona Laura. Yeah, I like it. Mona Laura.
Yep.
yeah, I dig it.
The Mona Laura exhibit is sweeping the world, and he's like, Mona Laura?
Yeah,
That's your ex-girlfriend's name, dude.
Well, we could have her drop that scarf as she's going into the portal, and they grab it, and then somehow they're like, "This thing's pretty rare," or and then that could be their clue to get them back to where she.
It was a gift from Melvin, maybe.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
okay, so he recognized that. Yeah, okay, so somewhere, yeah, somehow they get a hold of this scarf, and this is back during the French Revolution, and so it's their one clue, right?
Yeah, they may not necessarily see her face, but they see that and they're like, "There's only one scarf like this. I had this thing made or whatever."
He smells it. He's like, "That's her perfume." Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Perfume. That's stupid. Oh my God, what's wrong with me today? It's like, oh yeah, that's her perfume.
You're still sober, and it's St. Patty's Day.
No, what's wrong with me?
Okay, and
Where's
so
your green?
So that now there's sort of an investment on Melvin's part because my crazy ex-girlfriend is changing time.
If we go,
So good.
That old song.
so I like the idea. If we kind of like jump off of, I guess, or go with the Mona Lisa idea, does she go back and so like she's the Statue of Liberty, she's like the Sphinxes, everything's like carved after her,
Right?
or painted and stuff, and so maybe that's just how they track her down.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of leads into all the situations which they have to go back and fix, right?
Yeah.
And then eventually they it comes to some sort of head because this is why I broke up with you. You're insane.
Yeah. You're so vain.
If you won't love me, everyone will.
You probably think this world is about you.
Yeah, that's our theme song.
And then hilarity ensues. They right these wrongs. They get the guy to carve the right Sphinx head, and they knock off the nose of the sledgehammer, and
right. And so they recognize this as being sort of a fruitless exercise because she's always one step ahead of them, and then that's when they have this realization: let's just go 5 minutes back in time during the French Revolution, before she created this commotion, this distraction, and we'll catch her there.
Yeah.
And then there's like, and they're like, yeah, that would have saved a lot of time. Break the fourth wall, right? I feel real bad for you guys.
And then, yeah, so as a result, they kill themselves. they die at the gallows, and then they're sent to this sort of
Purgatory.
time traveler purgatory.
Yeah.
Where they get into it a little bit, and there's some opportunity for character development. Like all good spoofs do.
Like all good spoofs do.
I was just thinking, so if we're sticking with that, they keep slightly modifying every time they go. I want the idea that they don't mention it ever but to them, whenever they get modified, it's just that's how they've always looked. And so whenever anywhere there's like a family photo or something, whenever they get modified, those all need to be updated. And so you just see this throughout. They're like, man, that's weird. Like, don't they see that it's different to the audience, but to them, it's just how it's always been.
Yep.
Oh my God.
And so,
I remember when I wore my hair like that.
Yeah, it's just not different. It's just that's
what it is.
That's just how it is.
That's awesome.
That's great. But then at the end, they're sort of Justin gets a sequel because they're sort of rescued by themselves from another time, and say, you can't die yet. You're needed in the year.
Let's just
I don't
skip
know.
50 years ahead.
Yeah.
Well, if they're in this sort of purgatory, when the people show up, they could go, "Yeah, but we're dead." We're like, "Oh, you thought you were dead? This isn't dead. This is just a stopping point.
Yeah.
We're taking you to this next place."
Did they just
or whatever."
open a door? Like there's just been like it's just a room they're in, and they just open the door.
They're like, "Oh, I never saw that door there before."
I like to think that purgatory just looks like a big waiting room. And
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not purgatory. It's actually just a waiting room.
Yeah.
Here,
It's
like
just
right through here.
Like from Beetlejuice.
It's
so
like a really tiny sign that says "open."
well, I was picturing like a white. It's all white, and then there's a door, and it says "push," but it's written in white, so it's white on white, and so they couldn't read it.
With like slightly raised letters. I used my hands.
It says push, but it's actually a pull door.
yeah.
There's a white handle. Oh, man.
The future's really ironic, Melvin.
They have like highlights magazine.
It's all filled in though, of course.
Yeah, right.
Damn it.
Someone's already done the maze.
Well, Melvin, there's nothing to do now but fill out these highlight magazines. Oh God.
This is hell.
It's those got milk
This is
commercials all over
purgatory. It's
again.
hell.
Yeah. I'm trying to find the hairbrush in the curtain. Melvin, leave me alone. Yeah, we need a title for this flick too.
Well, if it's a spoof, you need something like Back to the Future, to the Future. I don't know. You need to like mix those up a bunch so
What
that
were
it's
the-
almost under.
What was the Scream one? Sorry, it was which one? It was a
Scary movie. Scary movie.
So you could just call it like the time travel, or time traveling movie, or time traveling. Oh wow, that's pretty loud.
Yeah.
Instead of like Time Bandits was a movie, Terry Gilliam movie.
I love Time Bandits. That's a great movie.
It's so weird.
It is.
It
I mean,
is
I saw
so
it when I was
strange.
very young, too, so I was like, I felt like I was on acid,
Oh, it was
perhaps.
great.
Yeah.
So like because even like Airplane and like
Time guys.
Oh my God.
What? Wait. Black to the Future.
It could be Black to the Future, starring Dr.
just
Black.
two white guys.
I like the idea of something with time. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be, Wait. So it's funny because I was just listening to something the other day, and they were talking about Star Wars spoofs, right? And how there hasn't been one in a while, and I guess there's a new one now. And they were talking about how there were all these different ones when the original trilogy was around, and the one that did it really well was Spaceballs, and it it had nothing to really do with Star Wars. It was sort of loosely, we're going to call it Spaceballs.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe there,
Yeah.
I think I peaked at Time Guys. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Time Guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's time guys like time to travel.
Time Squared.
Yeah, with like a little floating tube.
Yeah. Time Squared. Yeah.
No Time Like the Present.
No time like the present in the future.
Time to
Yeah.
leave.
Is it just time with a question mark?
Time?
You guys want to go see Time?
Instead of Back to the Future, in the past. Into the past.
Into the past.
Into the
I
past.
kind of like Into the Past.
Yeah.
Into the Past.
Is it like I kind of like to like the either back, or is it like is there something into the past that we can add onto the front of it, like
Looking forward to the past instead
Front-
of back to the future.
Forward to the front to the past.
A front to the past.
A front to the past, yes.
front to the past?
Smell you later.
This is the longest we've ever spent on a title.
Got all that time.
This is
I mean,
Here we go.
Yeah.
App to the future.
Oh, there you go. Because it's an app.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Bang.
sure.
App to the future.
App to the Future.
And
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, then we do this thing
This thing that Justin loves.
Justin, it's Justin's favorite part. We do this thing when we've officially wrapped and we sort of close the book. We just say and fade to black collectively.
all right, ready?
All right, and fade to black. All right,
Lovely.
perfect.
So if you have an idea of what Laura looks like, or could Photoshop something on Sphinx or other famous works of art throughout history to see what hijinks our heroes got into, go ahead and send that over to storymachine9000@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Or you can use the hashtag SM9K on Twitter.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Our logo design was by Dave Paget, music by Dave Ailing, and this episode is edited by Chris Wegner. Now you can find the Story Machine 9000 on Google Play, iTunes, and wherever else you find podcasts. Please be sure to give us a positive rating and tell us what you think about the show. All right.
Dunzo?
Episode done. I think we got it.